So, watching a bit on TSN here about last night's playoff, and they talk about Vasilevsky losing his temper and he's losing his cool, and they're saying, well, you can't do that. As a goalie, you can't lose it like that and show up your teammates. Hey, you can't. Remember Tuukka Rask down in Providence did that one time, and fans went nuts. They're like, "Oh, look at this kid. He's nothing." And Pekka Rinne did that in the last round in Nashville. You want a goaltender who's got that fire, and for whatever reason, the guys I just mentioned, along with Vasilevsky, are all Europeans. So and Hasek was very animated at times. I would rather have a guy who plays with that fire and wants to win than have a goalie who'll just stand there after the fourth or fifth goal goes in and not say anything. Lundqvist is not the one that calls his team out. Maybe it is a European team or European goalie thing. There were times with Luongo I wanted him to just flip out on the Canucks. I wanted him to come out of his net and just say, "Look, I'm saving your asses. What the hell? You guys can't give me any support. The hell kind of crap is this?" So there's a lot to be said for that. The other thing that's caught my eye in the last 20 minutes is that Ice Jerseys, which is a website that I buy some of my jerseys off of. Some of these actually came from Ice Jerseys. I highly recommend them, icejerseys.com. They're having a 30% off sale right now. And it's every team that's been eliminated from the playoffs, even the teams that didn't make the playoffs. Every time I say I'm done buying jerseys, something like this happens. 30% off. So it's still expensive-ish, but compared to what I would pay otherwise, it's a pretty good deal. So I'm really considering picking one up. Because a New York Islanders one would probably look pretty nice in my collection right now. They have the black Brooklyn Islanders one is included in the sale. And I call it the Brooklyn Islanders because it's the Brooklyn jersey. It's not a coincidence that it looks like the New Jersey Nets jersey. It's the same colors. It is the Islanders' way of preparing its fan base for them no longer being called the Islanders. Whether they call them the New York Mets or what they call them, whatever name they come up with, I don't think New York Islanders is going to last very long. They may also be waiting to make sure that they stay in Brooklyn. Because that stadium with the car in the corner, it's weird. I said it the whole playoffs. I still say it's weird. And I don't know if long-term you can play hockey there. There was also talk about expansion. There's been all kinds of talk about expansion. Here's the deal. The NHL's decided they're going to Vegas. That's a done deal. They've wanted Vegas for years. Okay? For whatever reason, Bettman and the people in control have decided that Las Vegas is a cash cow. I don't see it. I honestly don't. I don't see how Vegas is this great untapped market. I'm honestly surprised they're not more into going to Kansas City again. I think Kansas City right now is a pretty damn good sports city to go into. There's an arena there that's NHL sized. All they need to do is get the right owner, and Kansas City Scouts were there before you could bring back the Scouts. Very excited about that if that happened, but for whatever reason, they want a team in Vegas. They're not going to get Seattle. There was a proposal to build an arena, which was voted down by City Council because it was on the waterfront. And while I like the blind faith and following of the Sonics, which is the reason Seattle wants the new arena is to get the Sonics back. Here's the problem. A league puts a gun to your head and goes, "You want a team? Build a new arena." Awesome. That's great. They'll do it again. They'll find another reason to move the team out. I felt bad for Seattle when they lost the Sonics. You watch the Oklahoma City Thunder, you see what they're doing right now, and it's like, that should be the Seattle Sonics. But it's sports. And the only sport right now that seems to be completely insulated from that kind of reality is the NHL. For whatever reason, there's teams that lose money and the NHL props them up. Phoenix, for example. For whatever strange reason, they didn't see Atlanta as being salvageable and rapidly moved them to Winnipeg, sort of like a thief in the night kind of thing. And now with expansion, they're looking at Vegas, and I don't know that Vegas is going to be anything more than another Atlanta. But they can't go to Quebec. The Canadian dollar is too low. The price is too steep, and the NHL's got cold feet about putting another team in Canada. So, in all likelihood, they're trying to find a way to phrase this so that the dream of bringing back the Nordiques isn't dead, but it's dead. Which is why I got the Nordiques jersey a couple months ago, because I know the dream is dead. I have to get the old Nordiques because there won't be a new one. And there's no other expansion on the horizon. So people are already talking about, who's going to be able to protect what players. And I had to laugh. I was watching, I think it was Bob McKenzie who said, well, the Canucks, obviously, they could expose Ryan Miller in expansion draft. Are you fucking kidding me? The Canucks will hand you Ryan Miller right now. That contract, if they could get that $6 million off the books, they'll hand him to you. There's all kinds of goalies that are available right now. They will hand you Ryan Miller. No questions asked. So that I found like a baffling thing, because of all of the goalies who will be available in expansion draft, Miller is not going to be attracted to an expansion team. He's over the hill. He's too much money, and there's no trade value. When you're drafting an expansion team, you have two goals: finding players who are young and capable of playing key roles in a team that's not going to win right away. And we'll understand that. There's a mentality to expansion players. Andrew Burnett flopped around from expansion team to expansion team, I think probably because he had a really good way of viewing it and a really good attitude towards it. Cliff Ronning played very well for Nashville and Minnesota. Attitude. You look for guys with a really positive attitude. Or you get a guy who's a veteran that you can flip. So you draft him in the expansion draft, and then you trade him. You can trade him somewhere else for something back. Ryan Miller, I don't think at this stage would have the patience to go through expansion, because no matter how good an expansion team is, it's going to be at least 4 years before you compete. 4 years from now, Miller's 39. He's out of the game. So you're looking at a player who isn't going to be around when the team becomes competitive. He's not going to be interested in finishing his career in a team that's either a bottom dweller or, barely relevant. And teams aren't going to trade for Ryan Miller at this stage of his career. So yeah, the Canucks will protect Markstrom and expose Miller, because they know damn well they're not losing either of them. But yeah, so expansion's one of those things I look at and I say, okay, so Vegas is coming in probably in 2017. They may try to use expansion and a couple other things they're doing, like this World Cup thing, to distract from the fact they're not going back to the Olympics. I can't see the NHL going back to the Olympics again. I think they're done with the Olympics. I think there's too many uncertainties. It's too far away. It's a huge pain in the ass trying to get the NHL schedule wrapped around the Olympics. I know as an NHL fan who's not a huge Olympics fan, it's a pain in the ass, because you're squashing too many games into too small an area, and there's a greater chance for guys getting badly hurt. And for the guys who go to the Olympics, they can get hurt at the Olympics, and then they're not available to you when they come back. And I always hear, oh, it's worth it, it's worth it. You're fighting for your country. I don't give a shit. To me, it's not worth it. I mean, to me, as a Bruins fan, or let's just say for Blackhawks, what happens if there's an Olympics and Taves and Kane both get hurt, and the Blackhawks are without both of them after the Olympics? Now what? Is it still worth it then? I don't think so. And that's something that I think the NHL's dodged that bullet for a long time, but eventually it's going to happen. Somebody's going to get badly hurt in an Olympic game, and it could be from the fact that jet lag has to be a real thing, and it has to be really taxing on the body to go through that kind of thing. I would think it'd be tougher for players in my age range. There's none in my age range, but anybody who's 35 and up, it's going to be harder than for the kids who can just stay up all night. But I can understand the NHL not wanting to go to the Olympics and wanting to recreate the Canada Cup. The problem is this. The Canada Cup was popular in the 80s because all these Russians that came over, the KLM line, Tretiak and net, we never saw them. So we wouldn't know from one tournament to the next what to expect. There was no internet. There was no video footage leaking out all over the place. It was really, really secretive. This was USSR. This was secret shit. So they'd come over and we'd be absolutely floored with the way they played. Their passing, their intelligence, the way they almost had like an ESP on where each other were gonna be on the ice. It was intense and amazing. And then the Cold War stopped. The Russians came over, and since then, some of that magic's been gone. Honestly, the magic of international hockey, I was very, very, very into a couple of the Olympic game tournaments in Vancouver in 2010. Loved it. Just loved it. And I loved it. It was in Vancouver, so North America. No worries about jet lag. NHL arenas. There was no concerns there. And in 2002, Salt Lake, and again, North America, NHL-sized rinks, and I remember I was working at a call center at the time. We're in the States. Can't tell them we're in Canada. I'm talking to a guy on the phone. Canada scores against the U.S. Everybody starts screaming. Yay! And he says, so I'm calling Canada, am I? What am I going to say? No, we're just in that part of the U.S. that hates you guys. I was like, yeah, you're calling Canada. The jig was up, I think, anywhere in that building that day. But that Olympic tournament was amazing. I remember by the end of the game, we were all in the TV/computer room, huddled around the TV, and I was like, is anybody taking calls? Because none of us were all in whatever idle code on the phone to watch this moment because it was never coming back. And those two moments are the ones that stand out. Everything else is just kind of, I don't know, it's so a tournament in Asia in the middle of the night, it's not going to get the ratings. It's not going to be as exciting. It'll still be exciting. Don't misquote me here. But there's something special about winning in North America. And if the hockey tournament in the Olympics was in North American areas at all times, it'd be unfair to the European countries, I agree. But at least there'd be this whole special feeling around it. So that's my feelings on that. I meander a little more because there really isn't a whole lot to talk about going into tonight. You've got San Jose and St. Louis. San Jose has all the momentum in the world. St. Louis has to come out with an absolute beast of a game. For them to get through San Jose, and I don't like San Jose. You watch my videos, you can see I do not like the Sharks. I'm not making that up. But full marks on them for taking the game to St. Louis and beating them twice. The series is tied at 1, but believe me, the Sharks have beaten them twice. And this series, the way San Jose's been playing, I would be shocked if they don't take St. Louis out in 5 and make me a complete, baffling, befuddling failure in the West. Well, in the East, I've had every series right except Florida and the Islanders. And I live on the West Coast. There's no excuse for this. There's no fucking excuse that all of the teams that I've watched all year, I've got wrong, and the teams I haven't seen very much of, I've got right. Just going on gut. My gut telling me the Capitals always choke. The Rangers are going down. The law of averages means Pittsburgh will knock out the Rangers. Florida can't win. The Islanders won't win. So one of them will prove me wrong because they're against each other, but then they'll lose in the second round. And like all of these things happened. So in the West, I had the Kings and the Blackhawks, and yeah, I knew Dallas wasn't going anywhere. As a Dallas fan who's watched them all year, I knew they were going nowhere. Dallas was not winning the cup. This was not their year. And unless they get their goaltending fixed, next year's their year. And I was told by somebody at work today, while I was at work, that they had announced the nominations for GM of the Year, and Jim Nill's in there. What did I say when I heard that? I said the fact he's paying $10 million to 2 goalies, and neither of them are very good, he should not be General Manager of the Year. General Manager of the Year should be Jim Rutherford with the Penguins, and it has nothing to do with the playoffs. It has to do with the fact that he made the right moves at the right time. He didn't panic. He didn't throw out the whole team when other GMs might have, and picked up Carl Hagelin for a song. I mean, David Perron wasn't doing a whole lot with Pittsburgh anyways. And Hagelin looks really good out there. He is one of those players who, if he's playing well... 4:30, huh? Hello? Oh, how much did you miss today, bud? Oh, yes, bud. Okay. That's acceptable. My son has tomorrow and Monday off. That was the school's automated system telling me he skipped last period today. That's acceptable. Seriously, I used to do it, when I was in senior high. If I had a shit period for the last one and it was a long weekend, I guess I'm not going to class. So I just wouldn't go. So I'm fine. I'm not going to text him. I'm not going to tell him off. It's not a big deal. I'm a cool dad. Some say too cool. But I would have skipped too. It's not beautiful out now, but it was at the end of the school day. So I don't blame him. But yeah, this year's playoffs have been really tough for me to pick in the West. Great for me to pick in the East. And who knows, next year maybe it all goes back the way it's supposed to be. San Jose has to win it this year. If San Jose is going to win a Stanley Cup, they have to do it right now. Absolutely have to. Because Thornton's getting older, Marlowe's getting older. You want to give these guys a cup. This is the time to do it. This is right now. And while I'm not a Joe Thornton fan, tip my Boston hat. Boston's taken a lot of shit over the years for trading Thornton and for trading Sagan, and I don't mind trading either of them. And I guess that's just me. But I've always been happy with sort of the team that Boston's put together, and I think Chiarelli was a damn good GM. O'Connell was terrible, but Chiarelli was a damn good GM, and the jury's still out on Sweeney. But I will continue to support my team. I will sport my Blackhawks jersey today, and I will go out in public wearing my Blackhawks jersey today because I'm going to go get some food since my son's not coming home for dinner. So, which is why I don't bother cooking for him anymore. I used to, but one too many times of a cold meal that gets uneaten, and then you go, yeah, I'm wasting food. So, whatever. Anyways, I mean, no offense to Sharks fans. Just like I mean, no offense to Leafs fans either. Leafs fans are watching because I'm a hockey fan. And there's certain teams I don't like. And I don't hide the fact I don't like them. Doesn't mean I don't like their fans. That being said, the Raptors are about to get torn apart by the Cavaliers again as I'm taping this. And I'm debating watching a basketball game, which I normally don't do until the finals. But knowing that my Warriors are probably going to be out. I love Golden State. I've always loved Golden State. 30 years, I've always loved Golden State. I've always liked that team. That was a team I picked back in the late 80s when they were terrible. I was like, that's my team. I'm going to see if someday they become a champion. And I never thought it was going to happen. And then last year they won it. I was pretty damn happy when they won it. But I think Oklahoma City is going to take them out. Maybe. I hope not. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Oklahoma City just has this incredible thing going on right now. But I would be lying if I said I'm not sort of looking forward to watching the Raptors tonight just to see that large swath of people in Toronto go from happy, 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 we're going to win, to, oh God, we're getting crushed again. Oh, I'm on camera. Oh, people are going to see this. Why do I live in Toronto? It is a horrible thing. And listen, If you're a Toronto fan, you take joy in it happening in Vancouver, and don't pretend you don't. Don't pretend you don't. Don't pretend that when Vancouver loses a big game, you don't go, Vancouver's going to be on fire tonight. I can't wait to see it on the news, because you do. Because after these guys won in Game 7, I said before Game 7, I said if the Canucks lose, Vancouver's on fire. But I also said if the Canucks win, Vancouver's on fire, because it doesn't matter. It'll be celebratory burning instead of angry burning. It's something's going to get burned in Vancouver. So in a way, I'm kind of glad when the Canucks don't do well in the playoffs, because I hate watching riots. And then I hate being on the internet for months after, because it's assholes. And it's not me. I'm not down there doing it. I wouldn't. I know I'd get caught. As soon as I light a match and you know, set something on fire, cops are there. It'd probably be me destroying a DVD of a movie I already own, and then they'd get me on some copyright violation of in some way. If you set fire to a DVD, it violates copyright somehow, and then I'd be in jail for the rest of my life. Have you seen the FBI warnings on DVDs? They're terrible. Piracy is not a victimless crime. That's right, you're victimizing poor billionaires who have worked really hard to become billionaires through money their parents gave them, and grants from grandparents, and you're victimizing Deadpool, and it's funny because I don't own any pirated movies, and I don't even stream or torrent movies, but I've always found that warning to be really kind of funny. Oh yes, they're showing the celebration in Toronto after they won and knocked out Miami. Oh boy, this is going to be fun. All right, I'm going to go on that note. Maybe the Raptors win tonight and prove me wrong, but I love Kyrie Irving. I really do. I love Kyrie Irving. And there's a Cleveland Cavaliers hat sitting in the lids about a kilometer from my place. And it was really hard for me not to buy it a couple days ago. It might get harder for me not to buy it tomorrow, depending on what happens tonight. Because there's Raptors fans around here. And they're only Raptors fans when the Raptors are in the playoffs. Hate Fairweather bandwagon fans. Hate them with a passion. I will wear all my Bruins gear when they're out of the playoffs. I will wear my Canucks gear when the Canucks are out of the playoffs. I wear my Dallas gear when they're out of the playoffs. These guys don't wear jack shit until the team's in the playoffs. It's the guy when the Canucks make the playoffs that comes out wearing a Canucks jersey that has Jovanovski on the back. Or Bertuzzi on the back. And you look and you go, wow, you must be glad the bandwagon's back, huh? You wash that jersey, you take it out of mothballs. You probably had it up in an attic somewhere, didn't you? And I know every city has them, but I tell you around here, it's pathetic. And you'll hear them, oh, I've been a huge Canucks fan. I'm so happy they're in the playoffs this year. Where's Wellwood right now? Is Linden still on the team? And you just want to punch them. My ex was like that. Oh my God. There's nothing like being a hockey fan like me and living with a woman who's a hockey fan during the playoffs and asks you who every player on the team is. And you keep thinking, geez, maybe if you hadn't made me turn the games down and made me not watch the games all year and actually paid attention, maybe you'd know who any of these players are. It'd be funny because somebody would score and you go, oh, he's a good player. Yeah, I've kind of been talking about how he's a good player for the last 6 months. Yeah. So it was thrown out to me at one point that, you go find a hockey chick. No, I'll just stay single. It's just so much less painless, less painful, more painless. I'm still tired. Alrighty, thanks for watching.